I can remember a time, not long ago, a time where our only concern was how we were going to store all the fish Gunk had caught that day. We were all so relaxed. I dare even say we were happy. We had everything we could ever dream of. We had the start of a beautiful village with tons of new folks moving in. It wasn't long after the castle was finished that we added the final touches to Ragnar, the best military fortress and prison that anyone had ever seen. It was nice, peaceful. One would even say it was calming. But just like that, it was all gone. Swept away like a fall leaf through a cool, gentle breeze. No, that's how I wish it had happened. Instead, it was ripped from us. Instead of a gentle breeze, it was like a living nightmare. Shortly after being crowned king, Moose began acting a bit strange. As time went by, we had found these machines that he had apparently built, but didn't remember. Moose had a past that even he didn't know about. After a while, we finally discovered the truth. Moose and Notable were a dynamic duo. However, they were no Batman and Boy Wonder. They had worked together to rule the world with an iron fist. In order to gain subjects, Moose had created these machines that, when combined, was supposed to bring other players to their world. But upon activating these machines, it backfired, causing a giant explosion. But by some miracle, it somehow worked. Well, kind of. Moose had lost his memory. And that's why he didn't remember building the machines. Once we had all learned the truth, Moose had regained his memories and found Notable. Now reunited, they started ruling the world as they had once dreamed of, with an iron fist and no mercy, even to the people that they once called friends. But then something happened. Something that required us to join forces and fight together. There was this evil darkness that had just come into the light. This corruption had begun overtaking our world. The corruption did as the name suggests. It started to corrupt our world, covering it with these brambles of darkness. And the corruption had the ability to take on hosts and even overtook our dear friend, Gunk. This is what caused us all to being together again, to save a friend. We all nearly lost our lives, but through our teamwork and sheer determination, we managed to defeat the corruption within our friend. We all rejoiced for our friend, but noticed something a little bit off. The corruption. It was gone. Or so we thought. "5 years ago, we were all out on some grand expedition, all happy that we were together again. Fighting the corruption to save our friend seemed to have really touched Moose, as he was like a whole other person. He'd been through a lot, and you could tell this because he was still having these weird memory lapses. But anyways, where were we? Ah, yes, the NightMare. One night, Moose had awoken abruptly. Promptly sitting up with a gasp and a cold sweat, he checked his surroundings to find nothing. It was just a nightmare. Later that day, Moose and the guys were all sitting around just talking about their adventures when Moose decided to bring up the story of his nightmare.
I saw the corruption. But this time it was different. It wasn't just infecting our dinky little castle, but it was growing as far as the horizon and beyond. I saw soldiers, hundreds of them. They all did what they could to fight it, but they were no match for its strength. I also saw this blueprint. I know this may sound strange, but I can still see it, as vividly as I see each of you. The designs I see look like they could withstand the corruption. For how long, I don't know. This may sound crazy, but what if it's coming back? What if it's just been hiding, growing stronger every day? We need a new castle anyway. How about we make it like the one from my dream?
The group all stared into the eyes of Moose, still trying to grasp what it was that Moose was telling them. They didn't want to believe that the corruption could be back, let alone be back 100 times stronger than before. However, they couldn't deny the fact that it could be a possibility. The gang had just finished the outer wall of the new castle, when all of a sudden, a loud boom was heard. We sometimes joke about it, saying that it could be heard from border to border, not because of how loud it was, but from how much destruction it would cause. After the boom, we got to witness the horror of Moose's nightmare coming to life. There were so many players that tried to save their homes and their families, but every attempt was futile. The only thing that seemed to stop it was the walls that were built according to the blueprint from Moose's nightmare. Players from all over came to seek refuge within the walls of what was now known as Moose Empire. It has been 5 daunting years since the terrible day that we call the day the nightmare came to life. The gang started attending to the poor refugees who had just lost it all. King Moose then began preparations for an expedition beyond the walls to look for lost loved ones. Out of the hundreds who left, only one came back. Battle_Hunter, aka Red, was the only survivor. Bruised and bloody, he vowed that he'd never go back, and that no one was to ever leave the walls again. The majority of the gang were on the expedition, and had been lost in the unknown regions. Ever since that day, both King Moose and Red have been a bit quiet, only ever showing up to do their normal duties. The king does a good job at keeping us all entertained with the Moose games, but he's just sort of lost. Perhaps he blames himself for ordering hundreds of lives to their deaths and losing his closest friends. The king will go on these trips every once in a while, where he seems to be searching for answers. So far, he hasn't found anything. The citizens have been very uneasy recently, so maybe that has something to do with it. They claim that since the king already has the walls up, he knew what was coming and didn't tell anyone. Others even accuse him of doing it himself, as either some sick joke or he's under the control of the corruption. Just a lot of pain going around. Understandable though. These people have lost everything. Now, I'm so sorry to cut my entry short, but I think the king is actually about to give an announcement. He seems worried, or scared, or happy. Let me go see what's happening. I'll be back.